True fact that in parts of Montana where the land doesn't feel right, locals say it's always been that way. Near the Pryor Mountains, close to the Crow Reservation, strange lights have been reported for over a century. Floating, glowing spheres that appear out on the ridgelines, then vanish when approached. Old ranch hands called them watch lights. They said they weren't stars, and they weren't lanterns. Some believed they were spirits watching the land, especially the areas where the ground had been disturbed. In the 1970s, a group of hikers camped near Bear Canyon and saw two lights hovering along the slope just past their tent. They watched for over 10 minutes. The lights never moved until one blinked out and reappeared behind them. The hikers left in the dark. A local sheriff who investigated similar sightings later said, "The strangest thing is, no one ever hears a sound, and they always feel like they're being watched." To this day, sightings still happen. No explanation, no source, just lights, waiting where the land falls quiet.
I took a summer job on a ranch in eastern Montana right after high school. It was supposed to be a way to get out of town, earn some cash, and clear my head before college. A family friend knew the owner, said they needed extra hands for the season. The place was huge. Miles of open land, a dozen horses, cattle, some barns, a bunkhouse. I was the youngest there by far. Most of the guys were older, quiet, weathered, ranch folks. The kind that didn't say much unless they had to. My job was simple. Help feed the livestock, fix fences, clean gear, and stay out of the way. I didn't mind the hard work. The only weird part started on my third morning. Every day, just after sunrise, I'd walk out to the north pasture to help unchain the feed gates. And every morning, I saw this guy standing way out near the tree line. Same spot. Every time. He never moved, just stood there, leaning on the fence post like he was waiting for something. Wore a brown jacket, jeans, and a wide-brimmed hat pulled low over his face. Too far to make out any details, but he always faced the barn. At first, I thought he was another ranch hand. Maybe doing fence checks, but no one ever walked out there, and when I waved, he never waved back. On the fourth day, I mentioned him casually over breakfast in the bunkhouse. I said, "Hey, is that guy on the north fence checking something? I've seen him every morning, but he never comes in." Everything went still. No one looked at me. Then the foreman, Rick, a gruff older guy who barely spoke, set down his coffee and said quietly, "We don't talk about him." That was it. No joke, no explanation, just that sentence. I thought maybe they were messing with me, so I laughed a little and asked again. Rick didn't even blink. "We don't talk about him." After that, everyone went back to eating like I hadn't said anything. That afternoon, I walked the fence line out toward where I always saw him. I figured if it was some neighbor or a former worker messing around, I'd at least see footprints, a beer can, anything. But when I got to the post where he always stood, there was nothing. No tracks, no scuffed dirt, and when I turned to look back at the barn, I realized how far away I was. There's no way someone would just walk out there every morning, stand in that exact spot, and leave without anyone else noticing. That night, I couldn't sleep. Around 2 a.m., I heard boots outside, crunching on gravel. I peeked through the bunkhouse curtain. Someone was standing near the barn, facing it, not moving. Same silhouette, same hat. I waited, not breathing. He never looked my way, just stood there for maybe 5 minutes, then turned and walked toward the pasture. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next morning, I was the first one out. He was there again, same spot by the trees, watching. But now I was starting to see more details. His jacket looked darker than before, almost wet, and his stance, it wasn't right, like he was slouched but frozen in place. I didn't wave this time. A few days later, I asked one of the older workers, Tom, if he knew anything. He didn't answer at first, just stared off for a long time. Then he said, real low, he worked here. A long time ago, before Rick ran the place. Guy got caught in a gate accident, snapped his spine. He was alone. Took hours before anyone found him. He was facing the barn when he died. I asked why no one ever says anything. Tom said, because the day after we buried him, someone saw him standing in that same spot. He looked me dead in the eye. And we've seen him every season since. I wanted to leave, but it was another 2 weeks before my ride back came. I stuck to my work, avoided the north fence, and didn't ask questions. But on my last night there, just before I left, I woke up around 3 a.m. again. The moon was out, the land looked silver. I looked out the window. There were 2 figures standing by the barn now, one by the corner, and one farther out, past the fence. Both facing the same direction, both not moving. I blinked hard, rubbed my eyes. Only one was still there, but now it was closer. Right near the corral, still facing the barn. I left before sunrise the next morning, didn't say goodbye, didn't take the last paycheck. I still think about it. Sometimes I dream I'm back on that ranch looking out at the tree line, and he's standing there. But now, in the dreams, he turns to look at me. I worked the night shift at a gas station off Highway 2 in northern Montana. Just outside a town so small, we didn't even have a stoplight. Quiet place. Locals came in for smokes, coffee, or diesel, the kind of job where nothing ever happened, except for that truck. It started showing up around the end of summer. A dusty red pickup, old, like 70s old, with chipped paint and one broken headlight. Always rolled in around 2:30 a.m., when the station was empty and the sky was black. First time, I didn't think much of it. I was restocking the coolers when I noticed headlights wash across the front windows. The pickup rolled up to pump 4 and just sat there. Engine running, lights on. 5 minutes passed. No one got out. I assumed the guy was just taking a break or using the lot to check his phone. Eventually, it pulled away, no gas pumped. Weird, but not crazy. But then it came back. Next night. Same time. Same pump. This time, I watched from behind the counter. It idled there for a full 6 minutes. Still no one stepped out. Then it slowly rolled off and disappeared down the road. That's when I got creeped out. I asked the morning manager about it when I clocked out. He shrugged it off. Probably some local weirdo. Long night drives aren't illegal. Still, I started paying more attention. The third night, I had the forethought to write down the license plate. Except there wasn't one. No front plate. No rear plate. Just a rusted bumper and a dented tailgate with the word Ford nearly worn off. I started making excuses to stay behind the counter when it showed up. Something about it felt wrong. I could never see the driver through the windshield. It was just too dark, or maybe tinted. On the 5th night, I worked up the nerve to go outside with a trash bag just as it pulled in. It stopped at the pump. Engine running. I walked out slowly, trying not to make it obvious I was watching. When I got close enough to see through the window, there was no one inside. No driver, no movement. Just an empty cab and the low rumble of the engine. I froze. Every hair on my neck stood up. I turned and walked, fast, back inside. Didn't stop until I was behind the locked door. I watched from the window as the truck sat there for another 3 minutes. Then it rolled away, like someone had just shifted it into gear. I didn't sleep when I got home. I kept replaying it in my head. How could a truck just drive itself? I thought maybe I missed something. Maybe the driver was leaned back or crouched down. So the next night I checked the security footage. At 2:31 a.m., the pickup entered frame. It pulled up to pump 4 like always. But when I paused the video and zoomed in, the driver's seat was clearly empty. No movement, no shadow, just the wheel. It stayed for 6 minutes. Then it backed up slowly and drove off. No one behind the wheel. I took the footage to my manager. He watched the clip twice, then shut the laptop and said, "Don't show this to anyone." He looked nervous, more than I'd ever seen him. When I asked why, he said something I'll never forget. "That truck's been coming here for years, long before your shift. No one knows who it belongs to. We just let it do its thing." He walked off after that. The next few nights I kept the doors locked. I turned off the lot lights when the truck arrived and stopped watching. But on the 9th night, I made one last mistake. I went to the bathroom around 2:20 a.m. I was gone maybe 2 minutes. When I came back, the truck was parked at pump 4 again, but now the driver's side door was open. Still no one in sight, just the door swinging slightly in the wind. I ducked behind the counter and hit the emergency lock. Called my manager, called the cops. By the time anyone showed up, the truck was gone. No tire tracks, no camera footage. The DVR had wiped itself clean. The cops didn't believe me, of course, said it was probably a prank. But when I checked the trash cans outside later that morning, I found something. An old, cracked leather wallet sitting under the pump. No ID, no cash, just one faded photo inside. A man standing next to the same red truck, but the picture looked like it was taken decades ago. He was smiling, wearing a uniform. The back of the photo said, "Earl, last day at the station, 1979. That station wasn't built until 1996. I quit that week. Took a job at a truck stop 2 towns over. Every once in a while, I take the long way home and pass by the old station around 2:30 a.m. And sometimes, in the corner of my rearview mirror, I see a red pickup creeping into the lot. Still no plates, still no driver. I took a solo backpacking trip last summer through Flathead National Forest in Montana. Just me, my gear, and a map. I planned to follow a short loop trail I'd read about online. Easy terrain, 11 trail markers in total, about 9 miles round trip leading back to the parking lot. Simple, safe. Good for clearing my head. I started late morning. The trail was beautiful. Tall pines, distant mountain views, and the kind of quiet you can only find deep in the woods. Every mile or so there was a white wooden post with a black number painted on it. Marker 1, then 2, then 3. Everything was exactly where the map said it would be. By the time I reached marker 6, I stopped for lunch. No cell service out there, which I expected. I checked my compass and the paper map, still on track. By marker 9, the trail narrowed a bit, but I wasn't concerned. It was still clearly marked, and I figured I was just a couple miles from completing the loop. Around marker 10, I started feeling off. Not lost, just uneasy. The birds had gone quiet. No wind, just the crunch of my boots and the creak of my pack straps. Then I passed marker 11, the final one. After that, the trail was supposed to start circling back toward the parking area, but after walking another 10 minutes, I saw something that stopped me cold. Marker 12. White post, fresh paint, same style as the rest, but there was no marker 12 on the map. I pulled the paper out again, traced the loop with my finger. It stopped at 11. That was the end of the trail. I stood there for a while, trying to make sense of it. Maybe someone extended the trail recently? Maybe I missed a turn? But when I turned around to go back the way I came, the trail was gone. I don't mean it was hard to see. I mean, It had vanished. No footprints, no flattened brush. Just trees and forest floors stretching behind me like no one had walked through it all day. I spun around, heart pounding, retraced my steps back to marker 12. It was still there, clear as day. I touched it. Real wood, bolted to the ground. I circled the area, trying to find the path. Checked my compass. North didn't help. Every direction looked the same, dense forest, no signs of human passage. I marked my current spot on a notepad and decided to walk in a straight line for 10 minutes using my compass, hoping to reconnect with the loop. 10 minutes passed, then 20. Still no trail, but then I saw something else. Another marker. I ran to it, thinking maybe I'd looped back by accident, but when I got close, my stomach dropped. It was marker 12 again, same post, same tree beside it with the scratch marks on the bark. I had walked in a straight line and ended up where I started. Now I was freaking out. I yelled for help. Listened. Nothing. Not even an echo. I climbed a nearby incline to try and get a view of the canopy. Couldn't see anything but treetops. I stayed near the marker as the sun started to dip. I didn't want to risk wandering in the dark. I set up camp nearby and lit a small fire, trying to keep calm. Around 11 p.m., I started hearing things in the trees, not animals, footsteps, slow, deliberate, crunching in the brush. They circled just outside the glow of the firelight. Every time I called out, "Hello? Who's there?" the steps would stop, then start again a few minutes later. At one point, I saw a shape move between two trees, human-sized. No flashlight, no sound. I didn't sleep. By morning, everything was dead silent again. I packed up and left the fire pit cold, trying once more to find the trail. This time, I marked trees with orange flagging tape from my pack as I walked, every 20 feet tape. But after another hour, I came across something that made my blood run cold. A tree with my orange tape on it. Right next to marker 12 again, 3 times now, same place. I don't know how that's possible. By the third night, I was losing it. My water was running low. I started rationing my last protein bar. That night, the footsteps came closer, and something new. Tapping, like someone knocking on a tree with a stick. 3 taps, then silence, then somewhere else, 3 more. I stayed up with my knife in my hand and the fire burning high. When I looked away from the marker for even a second, it felt like something shifted, like the shadows moved, like something was watching me. On the 4th morning, I made a desperate move. I climbed the tallest pine I could manage, hoping to see a road or clearing. About halfway up, I slipped and nearly broke my ankle. But from one of the higher branches, I saw something that gave me a tiny shred of hope. A rooftop. A ranger station or shelter maybe, tucked into the trees about a mile off. I made for it. It took 2 hours, crawling and limping, and when I got there I nearly cried. It was an old, boarded-up firewatch cabin, but someone had left a note nailed to the door, pulled out onto a gravel road. A logging crew found me 5 hours later, dehydrated and babbling about numbers. When I showed the map to a ranger and pointed to where marker 12 was, he shook his head. "There's no trail out there anymore," he said. "Hasn't been for over 20 years."